Rugby Championship 2021 is underway this week. We didn't have Rugby Championship last year. We only had a Tri-Nations tournament with the Springboks unable to leave the country. But fingers crossed we get the proper competition this year. I've got the fixtures on the board. We'll go over the fixtures. The favourites who are predicted to be the winners of this competition. And you guys can let me know your thoughts on how you think it may play out. If you do back yourself as a predictor, we've opened a Super Brew pool for the Rugby Championship. I'll put a link to the description, to that competition in the description. If you haven't played Super Brew before, it's just a free predictions game where you pick a team in the margin and see how you go. The fixtures and the predictions. If you look at the board, I've got the home fixtures in green, away fixtures in red, and there's a few neutral fixtures in blue, if that kind of is clear enough on the camera. We'll start with Argentina, though, because they are the least favoured team to get the result in this competition. Now, you've got to remember that they traditionally are the wooden spoon team in the Rugby Championship since joining. But last year in the Tri-Nations tournament in Australia, they did finish second. They managed to get their first win over the All Blacks, so there was a little bit of a bonus for them there. And they recently went to Wales and had a pretty good series over there, albeit the Welsh without their British and Irish Lions players. But still, Argentina hopefully are a side tracking pretty well after a pretty disappointing Rugby World Cup campaign. You'll notice, though, they don't have any green. They've got no home fixtures for the Rugby Championship this year, which is going to make life tougher for them. They start over in South Africa, where they play 2 games. I think it's in Port Elizabeth, but I guess that'll be... everything is kind of subject to COVID stuff being all right. But yeah, 2 away games in South Africa. Then they'll play New Zealand over in Australia. So it's kind of 2 neutral venues, same as last year against the All Blacks. And then 2 away games, because they'll still be in Australia, to play the Wallabies. So no home games for the Pumas. It is a pretty tough one. They're paying, at least the bookies I looked up, $13. So they are the least favoured side to get the result. If you convert that into a percentage, minus the bookies margin, it's about a 7.7% chance of winning the whole thing. So it would be a hell of a achievement if you could win the Rugby Championship without playing a single home game. But it is looking to be pretty tough for them. The Wallabies, in terms of the fixtures list, have got pretty nicely. They spend a lot of time on home shores. Obviously, they're over here in New Zealand at the moment. And then they'll play a second game at Eden Park this weekend, which is, as I mentioned in the Bledisloe video, it's a pretty tough place to come. Eden Park, the All Blacks haven't been beaten there in a long time. The Wallabies got relatively close at the weekend, albeit it kind of, it got closer in the final 10 minutes when the Wallabies had a bit of a comeback after looking pretty dead and buried. Away game to the All Blacks and then back home to play the All Blacks in Perth. And then all the remaining fixtures are at home to the Springboks and at home to Argentina. So there will be no kind of fixtures list, I would imagine, than what the Wallabies have got for this Rugby Championship in 2021. In 2020, they finished 3rd, which was pretty disappointing because they were at home again in that Tri-Nations comp. And then 2nd in 2019, 3rd in 2018 in terms of Rugby Championship. So... they could certainly use a bumper year, but they have got a pretty young squad, and they are building certainly for the Rugby World Cup as well. They are paying $7 to win the competition, which gives them, again, percentage of about 12.7. So they are the 3rd favourite for this competition, the Wallabies. The Springboks, after that successful British and Irish Lions campaign, they're a side who seem to be definitely tracking really well. They certainly looked a bit rusty after not playing international rugby for a significant period of time. But they've shaken off a bit of extra rust each week that they've played, have the Springboks. And I would expect them to continue to do so, if anything else. And we may see some of the younger guys get a bit of a crack as well. Obviously, the Springboks squad was pretty massive for the Lions tour. But they picked that squad being so huge with a mind on the Rugby Championship, knowing that they would have to kind of rotate some guys in and some guys out. So I would expect us to see a little bit of a different squad named this weekend from the one which played the Lions this weekend. But anyway, we will see. 2 home games against Argentina, like I mentioned when I mentioned the Argentinian fixtures. And then it's kind of reminiscent of an old Super Rugby draw, right, where you would see one of the South African sides have to do that kind of 4-week tour of Australia and New Zealand. That's what it is. 2 weeks in Australia and then 2 weeks in New Zealand. So 4 away games on the trot is certainly not going to be easy. But they've proven in recent times that even when they're travelling abroad, they're a pretty hard team to beat. And if you remember, I think it was they sent like half a squad to New Zealand once to kind of get the guys ready. It will be interesting to see kind of if they go with a 2-squad mentality, if they're going to pick one team to play the Aussies and one team to play the All Blacks. Not sure, but we'll have to wait and see. With Rusty and Jacques in charge, you never quite know what they are up to. But yeah, like they said, they didn't compete last year because they didn't join in because of the pandemic. But they were first in 2019 and second in 2018. So their record in the Rugby Championship in recent years has been pretty good. That being said, with 4 away games, they are only the second favourite with the bookies. They're paying $3.50, which is a 25.5% chance of getting it done. And if your maths is good, you'll know that makes the All Blacks the favourites. They're paying $1.62, so more than a 50% chance of getting it done, 54.9%. And yeah, traditionally the All Blacks have been pretty good in Rugby Championship times. They won the Tri-Nations last year, so they were first. They were third, though, in the World Cup year, and then first in 2018. So the last time they had the Springboks to contend with, they did not win the thing. And to be honest, in the Tri-Nations last year, I think we only got, what was it, 2 wins and 2 draws? No, 2 wins, a draw and a loss? I can't remember. 2 wins, 2 losses? How did it go? I remember the Aussies kept drawing with the Pumas. We lost to the Pumas and once to the Wallabies, so it must have been 2 wins, 2 losses. Yeah, so it wasn't exactly a hugely winning record, but it was enough to get the Tri-Nations done and dusted. Yeah, the fixtures list is pretty kind, with half of the games being at home, which is kind of what you would expect, and then 2 neutral games, only the 1 true away game. So All Blacks play at Eden Park, then Perth, so home then away, 2 neutral games in Australia, and then 2 home games to South Africa. So, you know, compared to the Argentinian and the Springboks fixtures list, it's relatively kind. So I guess that's kind of why the All Blacks go into this one as favourites. To be fair with the punters, the All Blacks tend to go in as favourites. Springboks tend to always go in as some kind of underdogs, but that's just the way the betting patterns fluctuate. These are, when I was talking about those odds, just based on betting patterns, so take that with a grain of salt, but that kind of is what it is. But yeah, Rugby Championship, it's going to be great to see the All Blacks play the Springboks in their 100th test. I am particularly looking forward to that. Going to be great to see the remaining Bledisloe fixtures. I'm keen to see the Pumas get back in action. Pumas against Springboks should be a fascinating one. As I mentioned, I do expect the Springboks to name a kind of younger side, but they will have to be wary of the Pumas because the Pumas, as I mentioned, are on, apart from that kind of sketchy game against Romania, they are seemingly tracking pretty well. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. Who do you think are the favourites for this one? Is it the Aussies with their glorious fixtures list? Is it the All Blacks kind of with that middle of the road fixture? Or can you see the Springboks or the Pumas doing a good on the road set of results to pick up another trophy? Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.